Jai Hind everybody. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma from Department of Information Technology. I work in ABS Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. The topic today which we would be discussing is project appraisal and what are the different types of the appraisal. So coming to the point, this topic which we are discussing comes under the unit 3 of project management and entrepreneurship, that is KHU 702. So what do we mean by project appraisal? Obviously, we want to know what is the progress of that project which we are, or project means that project can be in terms of product development, change in the process, or the third thing which we can have, or the services which we are providing, services to be provided. So if we want that there should be some improvement in this process, so we have to keep a track of this particular changes which is being done. So this is the process of critical examination and analyzing the proposal. The proposal is basically the plan which we have done for the idea which is being taken into consideration for product development or changing the process or the services which we are providing. So basically the project appraisal comes as a process where we have to see, we have to analyze different parameters on which basis we can say that this project this project which we are undertaking is up to the mark and we can take it forward also, or we can carry forward also. So how we have to do this particular analysis? So it is beyond the analysis presented in a feasibility report. This is basically the software students can understand that for each and every project which we are developing in the software industry, we have a feasibility report. That is, we have to have a technical feasibility if that particular project which we are developing is technically sound or not. Technically sound means if the customer is ready to work on that particular technology and we are also conversant on that particular technology. Economical feasibility is if the money which that client is giving to us, we are capable of having that particular money and giving the output. Means if a particular client is giving us 100 rupees for the software, the expenses which we are bearing should obviously be less than 100 rupees so that we can earn some profit also on that. So we have to look into what is the analysis which we are presenting in terms of each and every criteria which we would be discussing in coming videos. So at this stage it is required compilation of additional information and further analysis of project dimensions to be undertaken. Means if we are making some changes in the processes, then what were the previous process which we are using and what we are changing now, we have to have a detailed compilation with additional information and along with the different dimension of the project. For this I can take the example of, I am having two iPhones. One is 13 Max Pro and one is iPhone 13 Max Pro and another is iPhone 14 Max Pro. So whenever you go and search the comparative study of 13 Max Pro and 14 Max Pro, you would have that particular comparison in a very detailed points also. So here we are considering each and every dimensions which was undertaken by iPhone company while developing that particular product, that is iPhone 13 or iPhone 14. So what enhancement they are giving in 14 Max Pro is compared to the 13, you can have that particular compilation and the additional report history there. So whenever you are looking into comparison, so this comparison actually comes from where? That is, it actually comes from market survey. Okay. Now I have, for this example, I took only both the iPhones. But if I take one iPhone and one OnePlus, so on comparing, I want to compare both the characteristics of both the phone, maybe the screen size, the resolution, the camera clarity, and so on and so forth. So we have to have that additional information on all the dimensions which is being provided by them. Then at the end of the process, an appraisal note is prepared facilitating the decision of the project implementation. So this is obviously when we are doing a comparison, we want to develop something new or we want to make changes in some particular process or services. Obviously, we have to see what others are providing to you. When others are providing and you are not providing, how you can provide that thing along with something new. So while in the next previous video we have discussed how we generate the idea, how do we take that particular idea. So there were 3 steps in idea generation. One was finding the problem statement, second was generating the ideas, and third one was selection of the idea. In these 3 particular steps, in the first step, the problem statement, we have that idea conceptualization. This usually comes from conceptualization. This usually comes from where? This usually comes from finding out what are the drawbacks in the current system or the current product. So when we have a post review of that particular product, maybe by the customers or maybe by our end users, then we can have that particular idea that this is lacking in our current system, and in new system we would require all these things. So when we have this idea, then comes problem statement was first, second is generation of idea. Means I have for this particular problem, this problem statement, I have 8 to 10 solutions possible. So I have to generate. When we are generating this particular idea, next step is we are doing a market survey, market research, we are doing a feasibility test, and on all those bases we are coming to the selection of idea. Okay, that is out of this 8 to 10, I am selecting from 8 to 10, I am selecting one idea and I am taking that particular idea into consideration, and now I am developing the product or the process or the services for this particular idea. So when I am taking this idea and I am doing this feasibility study, that is comes as a project appraisal. So what all things we are doing in this particular phase from generation to selection of the idea, I can state that as a project appraisal. All these things are to be noted down when we are taking this into consideration, because we should have that comparative study, what all things we have taken into consideration, so that we can show to the client also or the end user also that we have taken these particular parameters as the input to make the changes and get the output X. So if I tell you this is my X1 input and I wanted something Y1, that is the future product. This future product, I have to find the drawbacks of this input or the loopholes of this particular input, which will result as an input for the enhancement of Y1 product. So at the end, you should have an appraisal note, why I am selecting this particular idea or the concept and why we are going for this. We have done a thorough market research, or it is the demand. Here we can say that during the COVID time, the best example would be the during COVID time, I think each and every company will have started making mask, local companies also, mask and the sanitizer, because they identified that at project dimension that this is the best thing which can be sold into the market. Doing this particular market research and feasibility, that was feasible, and they started doing it and they started selling at a cheaper rate and they earn money also from it. So we have to see, we have to make a decision which would facilitate how we can do the proper implementation of the task. So the project appraisal enables to take a decision on investment with long-term effects. We have to invest money. If we are not investing, means our investors are investing. These investors required return on investment which they are doing it, that is ROI. So how we can give them the returns? Obviously, we have to look into each and every aspect. If we failed in looking any of the aspect, then maybe that particular parameter may act as a reason for the failure of our project conceptualization. So we have to look into, that's why in this particular project appraisal, we usually keep senior peoples or experienced people and obviously the innovative peoples. So here we take senior persons or senior employees of the organization, then and then executive members, then experienced person in that particular domain, experience in domain and in technology, so that we can see the feasibility in each and every aspect. Then comes during the appraisal phase, you have to measure the cost. The benefits are difficult as they spread along the term with high degree of uncertainty. This uncertainty was COVID-19. In COVID-19 duration, you might have heard that almost 70% of the labor lost their job. That was uncertainty in their job. That created an uncertainty. But the software industry, they didn't kick the people out. The teaching industry, they didn't kick the people out, because they required those particular resources even though they were working from home. So we have to have this particular uncertainty also into consideration while making this particular project appraisals. So according to this, we have different types of appraisal which we have to consider for a project before undertaking it for the development. So in the conceptualization phase only, we have to look into the feasibility at different aspects of a particular project. So what are the different aspects? So here you have these particular types. These are the different types of the project appraisal, or these are the different aspects where we look into the consideration of a project appraisal. So starting from this, I would come first is the technical aspect. In the technical aspects, in the technical aspects, we have to look into the technology on which we are working. Is this latest one, or we require some more changes? Like nowadays we have something after COVID that we have to wash our hands. Is the thing being sanitized? Is it clean? The cleanliness matters. So the product which is being developed is in that particular technical hygiene level or not. This also comes in this technical hygiene. Then comes the social level. Is that product or the project which you are undertaking is socially feasible or not? Is the society going to accept this legally or not? If society is not able to accept, then obviously they would have a screwed eye on you, that you are developing something which is not feasible for the society, but you are still going into that particular production or providing those particular services. Then obviously we have to look into all the legal aspects. When we are designing or when we are going for some client application development, in that particular case we are signing a contract with the client. The signing of the contract has many different legal aspects. How much money they would pay, when they would pay, if we breach our security issues, what will be the fine they would be charging us. So there are some particular legal aspects for each and every product which we are going to develop. As I told, in terms of software, if we are developing for a client, then obviously client will tell on in what particular phases he would be giving us money, what we have to deliver when, and what is the security breaches which we have to take into consideration. But similarly, if I have this for a production industry, I'm buying some particular raw material. So I consider this RM is the first raw material which I'm buying from a vendor V1. And we have some particular legal contract, obviously, or we should have a legal contract, so that if something goes wrong, we can blame or we can ask for compensation to a specific person. So whenever you are doing some contracting, then you should have a legal contract. For example, whenever you are being appointed by any of the organization, they give you an appointment letter. That is the legal contract. How much would be the basic salary, what DA you are getting, what LTA you are getting. So all these, that comes out to be as a package. So that document which you are getting comes under the legal document or the legal feasibility. If a company is having a budget that they can recruit a people of 1 lakh rupees, and when they have that particular mindset, they recruit some people and their budget exceeds to 10.6. So that legal contracts, if they have to kick somebody out or throw them due to the performance issue, they have to look into that particular contract, and while looking into the contract only, they can tell that we don't require your services anymore. Then comes the commercial aspects. What is the communication gap, how we are delivering that particular product, what is the logistic which is being involved in this particular product. So each and every commercial aspect, what is the agreement between the vendor or the sales officer and the person to whom we are delivering the product. All this comes under your commercial aspects. Then the institutional aspect, how your institution, how your organization would grow while you are taking that particular project into consideration. If you don't take that particular project, then what would be the loopholes or what would be the disadvantages? If you take that particular project, then if it is successful, then how your company's goodwill will grow. So we have to see the institutional level growth or acceptance of that particular project which we are undertaking it. Then comes the financial. There is a difference between the economic and the financial. Obviously, financial is from where we are getting money. So in financial, we should know the inflow and the outflow of the inflow and the outflow, from where we are managing all these things. How when our investors would be giving us money, if we are taken loan, when that particular next installment would be coming. Economically feasible means what rate we are taking the rate of your raw material, what would be the price of your finished goods, and what is the difference between them, so that we can earn profit for that. This profit will act as a inflow. So we have to have this particular, these are brief overview of what are the different project appraisal. One by one we would be taking these into details. So first of all is, what do we mean by technical feasibility? So technical appraisal is determined when we have different technical parameters which are soundly conceived. Obviously we have to achieve those particular things. Conceiving is you have to achieve them. You should have practically achieved those things. They should be realistic. They should be not superficial. Like if somebody is making a product in 10 days, and he should not say that he can make it in 5 days. So we should have realistic deadlines, realistic outputs, so that we can actually achieve those, and within that duration we may have problems. So we have to consider that particular risk parameter into consideration. So in realistic, if I give you one example, that if I have 3 persons can work for 2 days, so 3 person we are working for 2 days is 6 person per day. That comes out to be, when I require 6 persons, and we can have that work done. So this is the one. Another way is I've taken 6 people and work for 1 day, but the output of P1 is dependent on P1's second day task, day 1 and day 2 task. So if dependency is there, then this is not the feasible solution. This is not realistic. But here also we have to keep some buffer days into consideration. If somebody gets ill, so what would be the loss? So we have to take some buffer days. We should not tell that we would be able to complete in 6 days or in 2 days. We can tell that we would be able to complete in 2.5 days. So always we should have something which is realistic, which is feasible also. So next is, it should be technically feasible also. So the parameters which we have to conceive, it should be conceivable. Obviously, if it is realistic, then only we would be able to conceive it, and it should be technically feasible. So we have to do a technical feasibility analysis. How it is being done? We should have a systematic gathering and analysis of the data pertaining to the technical inputs which are required. We have to analyze the data which we have to give the particular product as the input. The analysis part is very important to see what is plus, what are the minus of that particular product. Then the formation of the conclusion is then formed. So if I tell you that if I get a raw material RM1 in 2 days, but if I get RM2 in 3 days, and both are required for my production, so simultaneously both are required, so obviously I would be able to start my production the 3rd day only. The production would start. So I have to see the technical feasibility also. So if I am getting shortage of my both the products, then I have to, if I want to start both of them on the same day without any lack in my production line, then I have to order this prior and this later, and they both will arrive at the same time, and I would not, my production line won't suffer. So I have to see what are the technical inputs, we have to pertain them, and then you have to form the conclusion for them. And different things which we have to look in the technical aspects, this whole paragraph tells you about different technical aspects which we have to take. We are taking one by one, I would be listing down them. First is the availability of the raw material. We have discussed this. If there is some particular product which we get in longer duration of time, they take time to send us to our location, then we have to order it before, or in technical terms I should say, the danger level of that particular, danger level is the level at which a mail goes to the inventory department that they have to keep to raise a procurement of that particular raw material. So this danger level should be high as compared to the danger level of this raw material. That is, this product has reached the danger level, now you have to order for the procurement for this particular product. Then you have to look into the equipment, that is all the machines which we have. If the machines are required maintenance, if we require new machines to be ordered, maintenance means the current machine is working fine but the production is slow, but if it gets service once, then obviously the production would be faster, or we require entirely new different machines for that particular product. So here again everything is going on in a conceptual form, nothing is done in practical, but beforehand we have to plan what all things we require, where we have to spend the money. So the first thing is from where we can get the raw materials, what would be the danger level, what would be the different vendors from which we would be purchasing, how would be bidding that particular thing, so on and so forth. Then the hardware and the software. Obviously the hardware is what materials do we require in a physical form, software is everything which is conceptualization or on the computer form. So obviously this is not the case that any production company does not require any software. Obviously almost all the companies uses Oracle Professional for keeping their management system. So we require the license copy of that particular software also. So this is the third thing. Fourth is the power. Each and every industry for running requires a power, maybe electric power, maybe water power, maybe the wind power which is converted to electricity. So what backup plan do we have if there is a power failure? Maybe that I require a UPS system, maybe that I require a generator system. So what is the power plan? We have to look into that particular thing also. Obviously the meters which come to for the industry is not a domestic, but those are the industrial or industrial commercial meters. So for commercial meters, the power consumption, the power rates are different. So how do we require them, how we can segregate the loads of those particular electricity, we have to take that particular point also in consideration. This is again planning of this particular thing. Then fifth one is sanitary and the sewage service. Full is sanitary and the sewage service, fifth. So if I have a byproduct of any of the particular main product which I am developing, assume the byproduct is the chemical, a water which is chemically contaminated. Maybe that water is acidic contaminated, maybe that water is basic contaminated. But whenever I sewage that particular water in land or in any of the lake or pond, obviously that land or the lake would be contaminated with acidic or basic property. So there is always a environmental issue or an environmental feasibility problem in this particular project which we are going to take. So we have to see, we have to neutralize this particular water disposal, and then we can go for the sewage of that water. So you have to have these particular treatments or the way outs when the byproduct is different, or if you are producing something whose waste is very much environment pollution, or the plastic which is plastic can be the byproduct or the wastage of your commodity or the product which we are developing. So where we would dispose of, which company would be taking it, so we have to decide beforehand we start this particular actual production. Then comes sixth is the transportation. This transportation facility means we have two ways. One is I may hire a logistic company. I may hire a logistic company, or hiring a logistic company means I have some company like Wheels on Eye, who is keeping track of all my consignments. So I would, how many days prior I should have booked them so that they can come and have my finished good, or from where I have to pick my raw material, or I may have my own transportation facility. So when they should be available, when should they go and pick that particular raw materials, how we can distribute our finished good to our vendors. So we have to keep track of all these particular cost benefit analysis also. If I'm booking it, they have the online tracking system. So what is the cost they are incurring? If I have my own transportation system, what is the cost it is incurring? If this is more and this is less, then why would I purchase my trucks, or I would keep my driver to distribute this commodity? I would have this particular option. I will get a contract, legal contract signed with this company, and then give my products or raw materials to them, and they would be charging me for that, and they would be distributing it. So then comes the seventh one, is skilled manpower. Obviously, for every project which we are taking into consideration, we should require some skill set also, some person also. Like the idea of the Uber, they required a person who owns a car and who can drive a car. That was the skill required by that person. So we should know what skills or what characteristics that particular person, what technical aspects that particular person should have, technical skills, so that we can recruit that person in. So skilled manpower. Then comes 8th is engineering facilities. These engineering facilities is what all things we have to keep in-house, so that whenever there is a problem, we don't have to call person from outside or wait for the person to come and correct our machinery, and then we will go for the production. We can recruit that particular person, we can have that facility in-house, and we can utilize this as and when required, so that our production line doesn't suffer much. So what all things are being required? Maybe a machine maintenance, maybe a generator operator, maybe a cleaning person for testing this particular sewage, maybe a person who heads all these particular supervisor, who heads all these particular departments. So we have to look into what are the engineering facilities. That was the 8th point. Now comes the 9th, maintenance. Maintenance is of all, each and every commodities which are running continuously in our organization. We require a maintenance of that. For example, you own a car. Obviously, you go for a service for that particular car after specific mileage or a duration. Why? Because I require to maintain my car with a good mileage. So for this, I have to keep the maintenance of my car. So similarly, for each and every machine, maybe for computers also, you have to clean your computers. You should have an antivirus installed on them. So we require some maintenance which has to be incurred on each and every machine which we are having. Even a generator requires a maintenance. So we have to see what all maintenance cost would be there if a particular product is being using that facility, and we have to incur that into a cost. Then 10th is the local people. Obviously, the local people work on a less salary as compared to the skilled manpower. This skilled manpower is with specific skill set. Here, this is the local person. So this local person is a person who may be unskilled person, and this unskilled person would be able to work in a less salary. So we have to see all these things depending on the type of the project which we are undertaking into. So here we have seen what are the different parameters which are required for these are basic 10 parameters which are being required when we go for a technical feasibility of a product. So when this technical feasibility is being done, here we should have some checklist also for this. So we do a feasibility analysis for this, signifies where that particular planning should be done. We have a proper documentation process. We exercise all these things. We keep a track how we can do this. We have to document this process. We have to see how this risk can be minimized, which we are taking into part, and seeing into all these particular things, we go for the approval of that particular part. Then the checklist which comes into consideration is, the first is the physical scale, the size of the project or the services which we are delivering it. So we have to see if it is feasible for our organization or not. Then comes the technology used. If currently I tell you that I use a Fox Pro, that was old age database system, I think nobody will encourage using me. Or you are using a MongoDB, you are using a SQL server, you are using Oracle. So we should have which particular technology we are using should be latest, not a old version which is being prohibited or is vanished from the market. Then we have to see what are the different types of the equipments which are being involved in that, and what are the suitable conditions of those particular. Those particular products or the machines which we have are suitable to work in this particular current environment, or they require a change. If they require a change, or they require a maintenance or replacement. Change is replacement. So we have to look into those particular condition. How realistic is the implementation schedule which we have scheduled? Is it feasible to have it? Realistic is it is down to earth? Can we achieve them? Or like you are in this particular position and your goals are this one, so there is a wide gap. So you should have a very minimum gap between them. It is not that you can have this way, that these are the goals and we are here. So we have to be somewhere up, and our goal should be this, and the gap should not be nor the positive gap should be more, nor the negative gap should be more. Okay. Then comes the labor intensive methods. What are the different methods which can be improved? What are the labor methods which are being used? So if your company requires more labor, more things, then what are the cost estimates for the engineering data? What data do you require? What are the cost? How we can accelerate this particular acceleration of that particular work? If there is a problem, how we can go to the senior persons and tell them where the problem is arising? What is the procurement arrangement we have seen? How logistic we can deal it? Cost and operation of the maintenance, that is in the financial analysis. And what are the necessary raw materials or the inputs to our products? Then the potential impact of the project on human and the physical environment. This is very important, because nowadays we are giving green India do we want. So green environment is, we have to see if particular project which we are taking, is it environment friendly or not. If it is not environment friendly, then there will be not given a green signal by the government. So in this lecture, what we have discussed, what do we mean by project appraisal, what are the different types of project appraisal, and in detail we have discussed the technical appraisal. Thank you for this video.